Hi, I'm Youngjun So, and in this video, I'll talk about the change of Japanese food culture caused by Western culture, which was the beginning of pork cutlet. So before we start, please like and subscribe this channel. Pork cutlet, called donkas in Korea, is one of the men's soul food in Korea. I think the reason for that is because it's meat which is fried. Pork cutlet, this donkas, is origined from Japan, as people know. Then how did Japanese people first think of this simple yet tasty cuisine? So cutlet kinds of food originated from Italy, and it was France where it developed. As time passed by, cutlet cuisines began to expand throughout Europe. Due to some historical events that will be explained later, Japan began to accept Western culture. Previously, Japanese people did not eat meat for most of the time. That was because Buddhism concept was around the country, and they banned eating meat. However, Japanese people began to think that accepting foreign culture is very important for their nation's development, and moreover, they were also fascinated by the biological effect of meat consumption.
The Japanese people got interested in meat consumption when America invaded Japan. When they saw the American soldiers, they were very huge and muscular, so they tried to find the difference and they thought it was in the diet. So they got interested in the meat consumption.
So, as a result, pork cutlets showed up in Japan and became popular around people after Japan's economic growth around 1960s. Like this, Japan has received many Western cuisines and changed them in a particular way. These unique foods are called Hwayanshik, where Hwa stands for Japanese, Yang for Western foreign culture, and Shik for food. First, I'll show you some examples of these Hwayanshik. One example of this Hwayanshik is omurice. Omurice is a cuisine made of rice, egg, and some vegetables. The omelette is originally from France. It was changed into omurice by Japanese chefs. At first, this omurice was just for Japanese chefs to eat at break times. They cooked rice with eggs, vegetables, and ate them during break. However, the customers saw that and they also wanted to try the omurice, which was the start of this cuisine. It began in Ginza, Tokyo, and now is a very popular food not only in Japan but also in Korea as well. To give you a TMI, my personal evaluation of this food is good. Omurice is very delicious and easy to eat, that's true. However, the fact that it doesn't have meat usually led to some deduction of my evaluation. So the next example for Hwayanshik is curry rice. This is also a cuisine made with rice, but this time it has curry on it. Curry is, like everybody knows, it is Indian's traditional food, but the curry on curry rice is not from India. It is actually an English stew-like curry. The reason why English had this curry is because India had been England's colony for some time, and in those time, curry was introduced to England and England people changed it. Anyways, as a result, the curry in Japanese curry rice is more viscous and has some additional ingredients like vegetables or meat compared to Indian's traditional curry. My personal evaluation for this curry rice is not bad because it is tasty but lacks spice and meat. However, it becomes better when kimchi is on the side menu. The last example I'll give to you is Napolitan spaghetti. As you can guess by the name, this spaghetti originated from Napoli of Italy. However, the sauce and the method of cooking the noodles for their unique texture is very different from those of original Napoli spaghetti, which is why this Napolitan spaghetti is considered as Hwayanshik. For this Napolitan spaghetti, however, I couldn't give a rating myself because I've never tried it before. However, I'd like to try it when I get the chance. And now, let me give you some historical backgrounds in how this Western culture came into Japan and Hwayanshik was formed. The first event was Perry Expedition. So from 1853 to 1854, Matthew Perry Admiral forced Japan to open up their harbor. With 4 ships, Admiral first came to invade. At first, the Tokugawa shogunate, which was the current Japan government, tried to stall time, which was their usual reaction to these kind of events. However, after Perry went away, he came back just 7 months later, and this time with 9 ships. In this situation, Japan had no choice but to surrender. There were a few reasons for this. So first, there was internal chaos inside Japan. At that time, the Japanese king was very sick, and he was not that interested in politics. Therefore, few people crashed to gain more power in this chaos. But the main reason why Japan had to surrender is because they just couldn't resist. So before this invasion, America went through some wars, and they won those wars very easily. Therefore, Japan knew how strong America was, and therefore they also knew that it was just a choice of just surrendering or surrendering after losing miserably. I'll give you some more details on this situation. So the place where US Navy had taken over is Edo Harbor. This harbor was the place for many resources to come in and come out. And since Japan couldn't do anything through force, they had no choice but to surrender. So the unfair treaty had been made between America and Japan. And after this, Japan also made similar treaties with 3 Europe countries and Russia. So as a result, the Japan's economy were at big danger. But then, only 8 years later, American Civil War happened. Since America couldn't pay attention to Japan, Japan was able to act very freely, which was a very lucky event for Japan. The next historical event was Meiji Restoration, which was the erection of a new government in Japan. So after the invasion, Japanese people were getting very mad at the government, since the Japanese government made a total 5 unfair treaties with these Western countries without any resistance. However, there were more to it. Japan had formed a very low value for gold, and foreign investors didn't miss this chance. They kept buying gold and took the gold to their own country. To resist to this kind of movement, the government lowered the value of gold by mixing some other metals and making gold more impure. However, this naturally led to inflation. So overall, Japanese people were getting very mad at the government. So rebellion was inevitable, and the government had changed, and a new government was set. This new government was very eager to accept Western culture. This is quite ironic, considering that people were very mad about making treaties with those Western countries, and that was the start of this new government. Anyways, it was a very good movement considering the aspect of this nation development. An example showing this new government's willingness to accept Western culture is this Iwakura mission. This Iwakura mission went on for 2 years, and for those years, high-class people went to 12 countries themselves. There were two purposes for this project. First was adjusting the unfair treaty, and the second was learning Western cultures and technology. These programs failed to fulfill their first purpose, but was able to step closer to modernization, which was their second purpose. So as a result, as you can see, Hwayongsik was developed, and now we can eat Hwayongsik freely. The next historical event was Great Kanto earthquake, which happened in 1923, September 1st, 11:58 a.m., which was lunchtime. This is the picture that shows how tragic the big earthquake was. The initial magnitude of this earthquake was 8.1. Several after earthquakes happened, and some of them had magnitude bigger than 7, so we can just all assume how tragic this tragedy was. The overall damage goes like this. Over 142,000 people died, and over 40% of Tokyo was burned. The damage amount was 40% of Japan GDP in 1922, which was the year before this earthquake happened. Even though this earthquake was a very huge tragedy, it was also a chance for development. Since people migrated from Tokyo to regional places, the regional culture developed and interacted with each other. And also, since new buildings and markets were built in Tokyo, you could find places with Western cultures in Tokyo more frequently. However, another disaster was waiting ahead. That disaster was World War II. In World War II, Japan lost many things. They lost a war, and too much expenditure was on the war as well. Also, they got nuked 2 times by America. But only 5 years later, the Korean War happened, which was a chance for Japan. Korean War was a dramatic save of Japanese economy. Japan was able to play the role of quartermaster for the US military. In other words, they supplied the resources needed for the war to US military and got paid for it. As the Japan economy got better and better, normal people was also able to enjoy Hwayongsik, and therefore Hwayongsik culture developed in Japan and came into Korea as well. We've looked through how Hwayongsik culture was formed and was distributed all around Japan and now in Korea as well. Please like and subscribe.